Yeah. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Let's Talk Real Life with Nader Manning. And I tell you, it is a great day here at Awesome Radio. WBIS LP 106.9, station where you can listen to an array of talk shows, subjects pertaining to men, and subjects pertaining to real life and how we can practically apply our Christian walk and be a great example in the community, in this city, in this nation, for the cause of Christ. But today we do have a very candid, honest subject for you today. All right. But before that, I'll do a little bit more housekeeping here to share with you how you can watch the show. You can catch us on Roku television 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can go back and look at some of our previous episodes. And I will say, I've even watched some of the show, and they are dynamite. And I get an opportunity to learn some things from the teacher here and also learn some things from myself. You know, when you speak something into the air into existence, then it's time for it to manifest. So some of my words have come back on me. So you can also catch us on social media like you are, GPAT23, Facebook and YouTube channels, and Awesome Radio, Facebook and YouTube channels. Go there, like, subscribe, and hit the share button to someone you care about and love that needs to hear some, or you want them to hear some real life discussions. We put it down right here. So, be honest with you, stick and stay. We got much more to share with you. And thank you for allowing us into your day. Download the app. You can click on the app and you can catch all of this 24 hours, 7 days a week. Awesome Radio through your Play Store, through your Apple Store, and you can just get it all. You can just get it all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Coach Garrison, the co host, and I'm going to introduce the host of the show, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Nader Manning. Hello, and how are you?
Hello. Hello to everyone out there. I am doing well. I hope everyone that's under the sound of my voice are doing just as well. This is a beautiful Friday, and we're looking forward to having some meaningful discussions. We are having a topic to be candidly honest. Candidly honest.
And before we get into that subject, I got one thing that I'd like to share. I do want to share a little bit about who I am and what I do as a coach. Some folks say, am I a sports related coach? The answer is yes. I am a personal trainer. I am a coach that will set goals and things of that nature to achieve physical fitness. But well above that, I am a certified life coach, meaning I'm not a therapist, I'm not a licensed counselor, I'm not a licensed minister in that respect, but I am on a level of coaching, which I'm a general practitioner. I'm not just a motivational coach, or I'm not just a coach in one area like leadership coach. I'm just a general practitioner, if you will. So I help people reach their goals. I coach what's there. I don't get involved in therapeutic interventions such as this, analyzing your past life or your past traumas. I'm a coach just like a coach would be on the sideline. I coach the talent that's in your life. If you need various services that you need to be connected to, if you got financial goals, I help find resources and coach how you use those resources. So therefore, we get a life coach who can be specific on what a person needs in their life, and they want to add another set of eyes or add another element of dedication and discipline because coaches can and do, we get down on you. We be like, let's do this now. Don't you recall we set this objective and the objectives are set to reach goals? So let's go. So we do that, which is enchanting and offensive to some people. And so there are coaches who coach from a point of, we bought into your life, you bought into my life. So when I raise my tone and I say, you're not doing a good job, it's not preaching to your soul to make you disappointed. It's preaching to your soul to get up and let's go. So when you develop relationships like that with your students or team members, you can use that tone of voice and have a command presence because they've given you permission in their life to do that. Very sensitive position. So each time we come on, Ms. Nada, I'd like to say a little bit about the Coach Garrison part, because you have informed me that those people, there are people who inquire and wonder where that comes from. And it comes from an array of experience. I'm also a nationally certified mediator. And that means that I'm nationally certified in resolving conflict. If 2 or 3 people had conflict, they can sit down before me, and I just manage the spokes in the wheel to lead a process, more like facilitating. So I'm not the smartest whip out there, but attorneys facilitate conflict in the courtroom. I facilitate conflict outside of the courtroom, so you don't have to go to the courtroom, if that makes any sense. So my experience includes working with the DA's office, Mediation Center of Eastern North Carolina. Crisis is what I deal with. I've worked at homeless shelters, group homes, mental health. So an array of experience that I speak from, and I try not to let all of those things that I've done, some of them 8, 9, 10, or 12 years in a row, overshadow the fact that I'm human and I got to manage my own conflict at times. So thank you for that moment. I just wanted to share that for the audience. If they do need something from me, they can email me at coachgarrisonoffice@gmail.com. Coach Garrison Office at gmail.com. If you want to know more about me or you need just a couple of words of advice, that's free of charge.
More specific, you mean? If they need more specific information, they can email you.
Yes, ma'am. More specific information, you can email me at Coach Garrison Office and pray I see it. Okay. I got discipline issues in my life too, with all them emails that come through. But anyway, thank you for that moment. And she was talking about the candidly honest subject that we are going to work on for the next couple of shows. So I hope you can catch both of those. I'm gonna let her finish, but I almost let it slip to say a few words about the Coach Garrison, but I caught that.
Well, we are glad to know a little bit more about you, sir. I have one question for you. How long have you been what you might call coaching, mentoring? How long have you been in those positions?
I've been mentoring since I got out of high school, starting with the Boys and Girls Club. And before I got out of high school, I was eligible to play football my last year of school because I failed so many grades. I failed my grade twice. So the last year I was eligible to play football, they actually hired me and put me on the JV coaching staff. Before I even graduated from high school, I was a coach on a high school level. It's just settling in even more. So after that, Boys and Girls Club, on up to now, and motivation and crisis, and those areas. Years of experience, madam.
Yeah, I'm thinking since high school to now, we're talking at least 30 years.
Oh, there's the calculator, y'all.
Or more. Well abreast of what some of the issues are in our lives, folks. This is Coach Harrison that's talking to us. It gives me great pleasure. I am your host, Nada Manning, and we are going to move forward with the show of Candid Honesty. Candid honesty, truthfulness, and being frank. Coach Garrison is really going to take the lead on the show, but I just wanted to throw in a few words here and there from a woman's perspective. And he probably will give some information on an all around perspective, male and female. But I find that being candidly honest is really the best way to be, being honest, period. But there are things that come up in our lives that might force us not to be so candid, and we kind of get twisted and get turned, feeling some kind of way, which brings us out of that candidness. But we want to keep it so that it can be truthful and upfront and honest, which it can be if you're using the more softer tone that some of us have a problem with. So in any given situation, at any age, and in any arena, whether it's in workplace or in the churches or in the school system, at home, honesty play a major role in all of that with all of us. So it is in our best interest to always try extremely hard, extraordinarily hard, to be honest. Because if you don't, you'll find yourselves in what they call a pickle. And we all have heard, I think we all have heard that term before. Those of us, even the younger folks, probably heard that word, being in a pickle. You're in a jam, you're in a spot, and sometimes you can't get yourself out of it because what? One lie leads to another. So just be honest up front and move forward, and then you don't have to worry about it. So without all of that being said, in addition, I have more to say, but I'm going to let Coach take over at this point about candid honesty. And I'm thinking that he has some questions, and he's going to give us some examples, some situations that has caused one to feel some kind of way of, how do I want to handle this? I want to be honest. I want to tell the truth, but sometimes it depends on who you're dealing with, I guess, who you're talking to, what's the whole issue about. Anyway, here we are.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's the meaning of being honest? I'm just going to use a context from the Merriam-Webster because it's going to take me where I want to go. Honesty. So what is the meaning of being honesty? Honesty implies a refusal to lie, steal, or deceive in any way. Honor suggests an active or anxious regard for the standards of one's profession, calling, or position. Integrity implies the trustworthiness and incorruptibility to a degree that one is incapable of being false to a trust, responsibility, or pledge. That sounds like that'll be a scripture in the Bible.
That's a lot of words right there.
So what we're looking at is honesty being translated into real things like a refusal to lie. Is so you can find the candidness in the single word honesty if you imply it and begin to use it, and it can mean one of several things that I just read. A refusal to lie, that's why you're saying what you're saying. Or steal, that's why you're doing what you're doing, being transparent and upfront and personal with a person. Or deceive in any way, so you're being open and it's just demonstrating the opportunity not to deceive you. So that's an implied word. And honor suggestions that are active or anxious regard of a standard of one's profession. So that's where I took the word honesty, and therefore the word candid is already there. If you are honest and you're not straightforward with it to a degree, or you're not candid with it, you might not be honest. You might not be truly honest as much as you can. So I just wanted to lay the groundwork. And right here lately, I've just been having these scenarios and maybe you've had one, but I was before a clerk just the other day, and it was my first interaction of the day. I'm like, oh man, I had to return a product. So I was like, man, this has got to go good. I don't want to start off the day like, getting into a scenario with a clerk. Yeah, I got to return this because I didn't have the receipt, but I just bought it like 3 days before. So I get to the counter. Everybody huddle up. I'm going to tell you this story. I get to the counter, and this is a place where they collect your phone number in case you have to return a product. So therefore, I wasn't worried about my record keeping. The product was less than $10. So I get to the counter, and right away, the clerk is being frustrated because she's doing stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, she can't find it. But I try not to speak negative over myself, so I'm just being quiet and trying to be majestic. Long story short, well, I'm not seeing it. So I just be quiet there and let her work a little bit more. Do you have the receipt? No, ma'am. So I'm holding my peace. What I'm struggling with is being candidly honest as to the fact that they collect our data to alleviate situations like this, and they use our data for sales, for demographics, in order to track us, in order to sell us product and service. So our telephone number is worth its weight in gold plus more to this company nationwide. Millions of dollars they use to create recipes on how to reach us based on our telephone numbers and our habits and how often we go into the store. So I'm not taking this lightly that the guy that asked me for my number when I bought the product is not anywhere in the system, or she can't find it. So here I go. I got to be candidly honest. Well, ma'am, I'm not liking the fact that you're making me feel like I've done something wrong because I don't have the information you need because I've already given it to you. And then she backed up a little bit. So I'm trying to judge myself. Am I being overbearing? Is my voice changing? Is my face getting scrunched up? And I know there's customers behind me. So, but I'm not going to pay another $10 Jet, because the guy told me when I brought the product, he said, if it doesn't work well, just bring it back. Just don't go buy another one. So I'm like, maybe this is a defective line of product. So I'm not shelling out another $10. So long story short, I wound up telling her that I'm a little disappointed that you can't find my number. Well, I just don't know what to do. And blah, 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 blah. I said, are you telling me that you can't do the exchange? Yes, that's what I'm telling you, because you don't have the. So she came back at me like I don't have. So I said, can I see the manager? The manager came over, got the product, looked it up through the barcode, I guess, on the box, found where I purchased the product. We did the transaction. It kind of made her look some kind of way because she probably should have asked for help. But I didn't want to be candid and honest, but I think it helped her. And so that one happened. Another one happened a couple of hours later. And like, come on, man. I'm not everybody's keeper. I'm not everybody's. But you know what? I don't know what God be using me for at times. I struggle and I try to keep my mouth shut when it's necessary. Because I know I speak out of turn more than I should at times. But being in those moments, ladies and gentlemen, candid honesty, the first element I'm going to say is necessary. Because we're out of tolerance sometimes. We're in too much of a hurry at sometimes. And other people can see it. And so when they're being candid and honest with us, they hurt our feelings. I know I've had mine hurt in the last couple of days. So I had to backpedal and explain. And that leads me to our first topic. That's relationships. Being candid and honest about your feelings to the people that love you in your life, that will do anything for you, and to the people that are just excited when you show up. when people get excited, they'll do anything for you. They'll do stuff they're not supposed to do for you. But that doesn't mean you should take advantage of that. But they're being candidly honest with us in a relationship. I'm going to say that is a very tough place for somebody who is a softie and doesn't want to hurt anybody else's feelings and don't want to make them feel bad, but you keep kicking the can down the road if you're not being honest with the person about your feelings. So that's our first topic, and I'm gonna pass it over to you. Anything regarding relationships and candidly honest.
With that you just said, thank you. With all some of that you just mentioned, your experiences sound like it could have led into being brutal.
Yes, could have.
But because we're talking about candidness, we want to that in another sense of the word, it means to maintain your cool, uh, not get rough, not get yourself out of control, more self control, candidness. Some situations it's very hard to be candid. Agree?
I
Some
agree.
some situations, um, if you continue to be candid, it leads to talking about relationships. It leads to, I think you mentioned earlier about being soft. No?
Yeah, I do. I said the word soft.
Okay. So and when we're soft, many times it's a door or a window opening for being taken advantage of. And when we're taken advantage of in relationships, sometimes that candidness go out the window. It depends on what the situation is. It depends on who's involved in the situation. I think at some point I might have mentioned a teacher student relationship that can become it can start out being candid. And truth be told, sometimes it's the teacher that brings it out of candidness to being brutal. And sometimes it's the student that's pushing the button. So the question is, in those relationship issues, it that being truthful, I'm just saying it's difficult. It's difficult being candidly uh, honest in some situations because sometimes it's a matter of saving face. Um, It'll come back and haunt us because we weren't being honest. I think going back to the teacher student relationship, where you have the student that may have skipped school, and unfortunately or fortunately, the parent found out that the child skipped school. So when you ask that child what happened, where were you today? Sometimes the child wants to be honest and tell the truth, and other times not. And many times they don't want to be because it's already out there that you didn't go to school. So there's no point in lying about that part. But the part about where were you instead of being in school. That child may have been somewhere, maybe making some extra money for mom and dad at home. They needed, a few more dollars to run the house or something. And the child didn't want the parent to know that they had this 1 or 2 hour job that they do. That's an honest excuse, but it does not warrant you skipping school. First of all, that's just an example that I'm just thinking of why sometimes it's kind of hard to be honest about stuff when you have
Well,
good intentions.
well, let's look at that word right there. That's something that would cause you not to be honest, but at some point be justified. And I'm not using the word justified as saying truthful. You're talking about the white lies. Let's go from that relationship to look at a church relationship. I remember we went to a home church and my pastor was my boss. and I was a private investigator at that time. So add that to my bio. I was a private investigator for 12 years, and I did fraud. I helped chase down bail jumpers and stuff, and I did accident investigation and insurance stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But my boss was the pastor of the home church we went to. Follow me closely. So if I had to do a case late Saturday night or early Saturday morning, I wasn't always at church the next day. But those of you who've been to a home church know that's a close knit situation. It might not be but about 10 people or 12 people in the home church. So, and of course, the home church obviously looking to get a building and all those things. So, I really enjoyed the close knit family feeling because we came from a church with around 2,000 members. All right. Anyways, so now the pastor's wife or the first lady of the church, well, you were on that service the other day. Where were you at?
And if you are a private investigator, you're not supposed to let anybody know that you're a private investigator.
Well, it was her husband who had to make a decision to have me working the night before or not. You follow me? So if I work all the way until 2 in the morning, I can get some rest, or 3 in the morning, I can get. But if I'm rolling all the way until 6 or 7, it's hard to try to do a 10 o'clock appointment for Sunday school. You just can't do it. So I was struggling with telling her that the pastor is the one that I was working for, and that's the reason I won at the early service that day.
Okay, so I'm asking you though, is the pastor not relating to his wife to let him know that he's doing this and he's your boss? The wife?
Of course not.
Oh.
This cat's about making money when it's time to make money. He ain't thinking about your work, your life outside of work. Even though he's the pastor, sure, he had compassion for that issue, but he wasn't going to say, "Oh, I got Vernon out working, so that's why he ain't at service today. I had him out working last night." And you say that in front of a close-knit group of people, it can be some backlash. It could be some. Go ahead.
I'm talking about his conversation with his wife in his home.
No, ma'am. Okay. They want a team like that. She didn't get involved in his business. And he's dead now, so it ain't like I can still talk about him. But yeah, he's dead now. It wasn't that type of relationship, no ma'am.
Okay. But I'm saying, okay, in a general sense of the word, in an everyday life, real life.
Yes.
You're telling me that the wife at that time was not aware of what he was doing outside of church.
What I was doing?
What her husband.
Yes, they were. Yeah, it's just two separate things. Yes.
So my point is, if he had you out that night,
yes,
she obviously didn't know he had you out.
Right.
My question is why? Why didn't she know? That way she wouldn't have to ask the question.
Because it wasn't any of her business to know.
And you were saying you were in a catch-22 situation, whether or not to say, well, I was out because your husband had me out working, or rethink the whole thing and just say something else. I'm like...
Right. She didn't want to hear no excuses. She want you at church, and you supposed to attend church for the Lord. You're not, whatever you're doing. But I'm not saying there wouldn't be any understanding. All of that will be after the fact.
I'm talking about being candid honesty here.
Right. So so you're right. That was my point right there, how to do it and whether I should do it and blame it on him or take responsibility for me not getting up. You see the little.
I do.
Yeah. So I can say, oh no, it's his fault that I wasn't here. Oh, I can say, well, no, I worked late and I just couldn't get up. She was not that kind of a person. No, you got to think about what I'm saying. She was more like a school teacher in church. You late for class, sir. You're not here. You were absent. That's where it started at. You see what I'm saying?
Okay. So yeah. unless you were laid up in the hospital, hurt somewhere,
yeah,
no reason why you should not have been in church.
Yeah, and if you're with a small congregation, anybody that's listening that knows
Yeah.
that's been in a home church, everybody knows everything about you. It's fun when it's fun. I don't know why I'm talking so loud. It's fun when it's fun. You forgot to say I'm right here. It's fun when it's good because we all go out to eat together. The whole church can go, not just
Yeah.
part of the church.
Yeah.
But when they know your business, they're used to you, and when you're not there, you're missed even more, or just as much as if you were with a bigger church.
Okay. I'm not trying to belabor this portion of the session, but we're
Yeah,
talking real life here. We are talking real life here on Let's Talk Real Life. So what I'm saying to you is something that any one person would come up with that scenario that you gave.
yes,
It wasn't like you were out stealing or robbing or anything. So
no.
I fail to see why it would be a problem in that small church, even if they did hear it. Okay, you were working. It's not like you got to reveal what you were doing.
But then she would fuss at him for having me out working because I was needed in the church. So it would create a situation that could go 2 or 3 steps, and I had to make a decision of whether to tell on him or not.
Okay, so is that what you call a situationship relationship?
Yeah, I had to make a decision whether to say, "Oh, it was his fault," like Adam did when God said, "Where are you?"
Yeah.
You can't hide from God, but he wanted to see what Adam was going to say. And
Okay.
then you ate the fruit. And then Adam, I think he said, "Well, the woman that you gave me, it was her fault." No, he couldn't say that. He had
And
to
you were
take
saying,
responsibility. Huh?
and you're saying you can't say, well, it was your husband's fault because he the one had me out working.
Yeah, that puts you in a situation that Adam was responsible for that garden. And for him to say, God is that woman, she beguiled me, she the one deceived me. Man, you got enough sense to know what God told you to do. And he had to stand up and be accountable for the fall of man and not just blame it on his wife Eve. So I had to make a decision to be candidly honest or to say something that would let things pass by.
And what did you do?
I don't know now. We done talked about it so much, I can't remember.
Well,
I just lost track because you got so interested in what I'm saying. I didn't say your husband had me out working. I know I didn't say that.
okay.
I just said, what is it you need me to do? If I miss something in that morning service, then let me know. I'll take care of it. So I didn't make an excuse, and I didn't tell a white lie. I didn't say I overslept.
What you did, you avoided the question. That's what you did.
I kind of sort of did
Yes, that's
because
what
she
you
was
did.
like, "Well, where were you at Sunday? We missed you," and
Right.
it wasn't like out of concern either. It's like, yeah, where were you at Sunday morning? We were looking for you.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
that was what happened there, and I was in that situation. So my mind is when it comes to being candidly honest in church, you have your your suit and tie and image that you're sitting in the third row, 3 seats over. You have a image that you carry, and after years of going to a certain church, you will learn who the people are outside of church. And it won't look nothing like the person you've been seeing in church.
Right.
And so that's mesmerizing. Uh, but in church, people say certain things in that relationship that give you the holier than thou kind of appearance. But really, I gotta give people like that situation a pass because at church you are supposed to be approaching God. You are supposed to be praising Him and having a relationship that's demonstrated to be better than any other relationship you got. But let me say this. So I said all that to say this about relationships at church and being candidly honest. It messes my head up when we talking holier than thou at church, and then when we out somewhere and you start cussing like a sailor. I didn't, especially if it's like the pastor or something, when they do something outside of the church, you be like, whoa, did he just do that? Well, it took me a minute because it shocked my conscience. But they were pastors and people of the cloth are human too. So it took me a while to realize that they lie, cheat, and steal just like any other man does. And I'm not saying that to talk about ministers or anything like that, but I kind of did catch a priesthood about ministers and people of God, men of God, and women of God when I got saved again in a part of a larger church. So being candidly honest, and this is my point, to say something to them about it. Oh wow. Woo. That was a learning curve. But in crisis, I've seen a lot of people in church in their element. And one thing I haven't learned to do is to say anything other than, hey, that's life. Let's go. What are the issues? What do we got going on? Let's say the pastor's daughter then got pregnant. She off in a motel, locked up with some guy, and there's drugs involved, and they can't get her out. So I go be the peacemaker. I treat it with normalcy. So I guess I can say a sub point is when you don't know what to say and you have to be candidly honest and you think it's going to be brutally honest, of probably 50% of the time, you can say, I'm going to catch this tomorrow. I'm going to catch it at a better time and I'm going to say something. And then the other 50% of the time, you can go ahead and say it right then. It won't be no different than saying it right then, like a doctor says, yeah, you got 6 months to live. They be coming into people's rooms and just telling them, hey, how you doing today? Yeah, you're going to be dead in 6 months. Or they don't say it like that, but I heard them say, yeah.
That's brutal. That's brutal right there.
Yeah, that is, they will say that. But you know, when I heard the first doctor do that, just come in and spend 2 minutes and say, yeah, we're and they told my dad that you got 6 months to live. I thought it was kind of like maybe they should have sat down and talked a little bit more about the issues.
Candidly.
But you know what? It can go both ways. 50% of the time you can spit it out, and 50% of the time you can decorate it.
Yes, but I think a lot of times that depends on the situation. It depends on who you're talking to, who all is involved. If you come in that room and that patient is have 6 months or 3 months or whatever to live, and you have a family members in there that's boo-hooing and emotional, the worst thing you can do is to come in there with brutal comments. Oh, by the way, sorry to inform you all, but your relative here, your dad or whoever it is, don't have but 6 months. And then that's it. That to me is just brutal. It's honest, but it's brutal. There's a better way to do things, is what I'm saying.
You know what? And brutally honest, sure, it definitely has a place, and I can talk about a little bit more about brutally honest later. But I'm talking about being candid and on the moment, and being candid and upfront with what's actually happening, versus deferring to a different time, a different place where you know that person can hear you. That's the decision we got to make in like professional life. Do I tell them right then, or do I write them a pink slip if you're at work? Do I write them up, or do I coach and counsel them? Do I do a verbal reprimand and say, nah, we don't do that here, and keep on moving? Or do I go through the whole office situation? Come on in, let me talk to you a little bit. You know what just happened out there? And thus, back to the church, I cannot imagine how a pastor sees people, but I can imagine in some ways, now that I just said that, how he sees his congregation and knows pretty much about what's going on, a little bit of everything out there. and whether he or she could say something about it. Some people are so apostolic or so prophetic, when they meet you, they can tell what's going on in your spirit. They can read you, they got discernment. They can look at you and say, yeah, you got this, you got that spirit, you got that spirit. Do they tell you about it? Not all the time. If now people who have told me what they see about me, trying to be candidly honest, turned into being brutal because I didn't agree with what they said. You got this demon spirit about you that's this, that, and the other. Now I didn't agree with it. What they saw, they might have saw something that I had on me that I didn't know. But we talk about candid honesty in the church right now still, and they have a huge, huge undertaking to relate to people and either cover it up because they're in a sort of a political position, either cover it up or let it pass by and let it come out another way, or tell a little white lie like they didn't see it. I didn't see nothing. What happened? I didn't. What?
Really? What?
Really?
Who? Where?
Ooh.
When?
Yeah. I didn't. Oh, did I say that? You know, it's like, but that's my aspect there when it comes to one-on-one counseling. I was a deacon once, and boy, was I was rolling. My job was to serve people, and I did it. And I did it in a way when somebody asked me about for help or whatever the case may be. We had a certain amount of money we could give out. We had a certain amount of confidentiality we had to keep or could keep. And then, you know, certain things we share with the elder, and they make a decision. So it was a well-oiled machine to be a part of the church. And I'm just saying this in case somebody looking at me like, what he know? He always talk. No, I've worked in the church. I've served in the prison ministry. And being candidly honest in that field is really good because a lot of times somebody that have fallen down and found themselves in an institution have a transparency about them that they want you to see. Hey, I feel down on my luck, man. I'm trying to get back up. And so, yes, you can talk about somebody that's got caught up in the streets on drugs. Look, I'm going to give you an example. I'm not talking about the church, or candidly honest. I'm standing in the Eiffel House the other night, about 3 o'clock in the morning. This guy comes in. He's like, I want to know where the hood at. Guy about 6'4", man. I was like, who's this big guy coming in here? He said, where the hood at? I said, because we was on the 10th Street side of town. The hood is on the hospital side. It's like 3-4 miles away. So I don't know how to tell him where the hood is. And, you know, plus it's served in the morning. So he said, yeah, I'm lost. I just need to know where the hood is. I said, well, what in the world is the hood you trying to find? Well, you know, I'm just trying to find a hookup. And so I'm baffled. Do you know what that guy said? He said, look, man, I'm looking for some crack. Just some crack, man. Just tell me where the hood at. I had to be, I feel kind of bad because I actually told him where the hood at. I said, well, just get on 14th Street, man, and just take 14th Street down until it get dark. Then I think you're going to be in the hood. But he was so honest about, he said, I'm in construction, and I'm just in town for a little while, and I'm lost. And he had like this kind of like, I just need directions to the health department. I just need directions to the drugstore. But he needed directions to the crack house. And he was going to find the crack house when he got to the hood. But he didn't seem like his eyes weren't bulging or red. He was just like, crack, man, I'm looking for some crack.
Maybe he was a dealer.
Huh?
Maybe he was a dealer.
Well, whatever. He was trying to find the hood like that for some crack. He's going to buy some crack. You know? I don't know. He didn't say he wasn't looking for customers. But anyways, he had a candid honesty that was not offensive to me.
Oh,
Because if he was talking nasty to me, I'd be like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about, man. All right, have a good night. But he really was. I forced him because of my naivete of why somebody would be looking for the hood at that time of the morning. I'm like, what in the world? Who asked directions to the hood? And I started playing with it a little bit. He said, man, I just need some directions, man. I need some crack.
you never know. He could have been undercover and was trying you.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I've been in that one before. Yeah, this lady one night, she approached me at the store, the Ezra parking lot, asked me did I want to be with her in so many words, and I said, you know what? They've been doing a lot of sting operations around here from sexual trafficking. I said, how do I know you ain't one of them? And she started laughing, and she said, you're right, but I'm not. I said, oh well. I said, I'm not gonna let you get in my car, and I don't want to take you anywhere, and I don't want to be with you. But here's $5. Go get you some food or whatever, because she was trying to sell me something. You know what I'm saying? So if they were looking at me in the camera, right? If the police was over there at the community college, we got him. She got one in sight. Let's see if he gonna take the bait. And they turned to the binoculars. Oh, he gave us some money. Oh. She walking away. He getting in the car leaving. He just made a donation. Okay, well, all right, next.
Well, we're down to about 4 minutes.
Oh, we are, aren't we? Yeah, we got a lot more to cover. We just this is the drama show.
We have come down to the last 4 minutes of the show, and it has definitely been some interesting information, different ways of looking at candidness. And like I said, it's real life stuff like that really does happen, and we'd be surprised where we can find some of these places. And that last point that I had made, when we get in situations like that, we don't know who we're dealing with. It could be the FBI. It could have been anybody that was ready to, okay, you can turn around now, put your hands behind your back. And you like, what? So we have to be prepared for that kind of thing. And that's a behavior. That is a behavior, whether you want to call it candid, I don't know, but it was a behavior. It was a response. And so we are very happy to inform everyone that we are talking about this candid honesty stuff. It brings out some personalities in us that we didn't realize we had, our responses on things. And we get caught by surprise on a lot of stuff. And that also forces honesty, whether you're going to be honest or tell the truth, because sometimes we do get caught up and get surprised.
Right. Before we go, on the next show, we're going to talk about, or part 2 of this, depending on when you see it, relationship at work, and also relationship with your government officials, and being honest about whether you are involved in your community or not, and voting and making decisions. Some people don't, they just let it pass by. Some people don't care about that relationship because they don't think it's real and they think it's so manipulative. But we want to talk about that and a little bit about the family and being candidly honest about your social role to your family and your obligations to be honest about whether you want to change careers or not, or you let it pass by for 10 or 15 years and you're not fulfilled. You were not honest about where you wanted to go in that family, and then it cost you 10 years. So on the next show, 1 minute.
All right, we are going to close now. Father, thank you for this opportunity, for being who you are as we talk about candidness and being honest as you want us to be. You want us to always be as honest as possible. And I say as possible because as humans, we don't always get it right. And we just trust, Lord, that you're going to keep walking with us and helping us as we move forward with this honesty to please you, Lord, and to live a better, more productive life of being honest. Because people have feelings and they get hurt from being dishonest. So we love you, Lord. We trust you and believe that you're going to be with us always. And until next time, we're going to say toodaloo ta ta.
This is WBISLP 106.9.